My name is Nikolai. I am the head of an analytical agency, and today we are going to discuss the global transition regarding the phase out of cash. As of today, the phase out of cash that is coming worldwide is becoming an absolute, inevitable fact for me personally. Let's begin. Today, I would like to conduct a whole mini investigation that will open your eyes to many processes. Under normal circumstances, we don't do things like this, but I absolutely have to do it because people don't see the connections. And by not seeing the connections, they end up losing their money. By the way, let's start a bit with the markets. So, what do we have on the market today, globally or in Russia or in general? The market has consolidated and is preparing for a good fat crash. In my view, it's about 10 to 15%. That's on the American S&P 500 market. For oil, that's the 140 level. We expect the reversal has happened. And those who have forecasts on how this will happen and what we're investing in, go ahead and take a look. Our website exists for this very reason, to show you the dynamics of our forecasts and what we are betting on. I personally continue to short the American market. And this week I even had a small increase in the March put options that I've mentioned to you many times. And so, for now, we're waiting in the market, waiting for a good crash, a sharp rise in inflation, a spike. Tensions in the Middle East, it's already happening. Again, America is pounding Iranian territory and Iran is destroying tankers. So basically, we've reached an agreement. Peace is concluded. Only for some inexplicable reason, this peace doesn't feel like true peace at all. Now, let's begin to talk about the primary subject matter of our video today. Now, regarding the markets, let's talk about the general global dynamics and actually the internal news. Firstly, let's start with the significant fact that a big, widespread war, which I have been consistently predicting for probably the last 4 years now, is approaching. And this is a major world war that will definitely happen apparently sometime in the year 2028. And further on, in 2027, this event will already start gaining momentum, and in 2028, the climax, basically, it will last for a couple of years, yes, probably even until 2031, until the year 2031. So, all of these developments will start, basically, from the same circumstances and events that are happening right now. It will continue to evolve and naturally flow out of them. So there really is not any surprising news here for anyone. Everything that's happening now, we talked about it several years ago. What will be happening in just a couple of years, you already know right now, which is the value of this channel. You can not only predict events there, but also earn money from them. We are in fact doing this successfully, which we report on our resource. Right now, we're expecting another escalation to begin, oil prices will skyrocket, and there will be a massive rise in global inflation. And what is the purpose of all this? If you look at the world as just a collection of scattered fragments, it might seem like everyone is just looking out for themselves, everyone is defending their own interests, and everyone is trying to do something, but things fail and war breaks out. And so people suffer for some unnecessary reason, but it is not immediately clear at all why that is the case. But if you look at the situation more pragmatically, if you look at it from the broader perspective of, well, let's say someone who sees the big picture, well, then everything becomes very, very clear and quite obvious, I would say. First of all, everything that is happening now and everything that will happen in this major war is being done for one single overarching and strategic purpose. The global economy needs to be rebooted. They actually all reached an agreement on this a long time ago. Putin, Trump, and the rest of them, they are in touch. They're all in this together. They all communicate with each other. They all have common interests. Do not mistakenly believe that every nation is going in its own direction and just occasionally forced to make certain concessions and so on. No, they are all walking hand in hand, and they are carrying out a single global policy. By the way, COVID serves as a very easy proof of this. Look at how quickly they banded together and implemented the same, completely identical, essentially systematic acts of repression within their own territories. It's very interesting how it all worked, how it was all implemented. People have already forgotten this. People have very short memories. But I assure you, the events happening in the world right now are all connected, and they have one goal. Do you know what it is? It's very simple: the abolition of cash. They are moving toward the goal of rebooting the global financial system, putting it on entirely new digital tracks, and technically, everything is already prepared for this transition. This is being done so that every single cent of yours, regardless of whatever currency you use, is meticulously and fully accounted for. Most importantly, they believe you shouldn't possess great wealth because you shouldn't be spending a lot of your own resources. And you really shouldn't be spending a lot of money right now because there is a massive global audit of property holdings and the environmental impact known as the so-called carbon footprint. They are looking at how much gasoline you burn, how much you eat, and so on. So, where exactly is this leading? It is leading to the profound idea that you, as a single individual unit, are being digitized so that ultimately any ruler of any country will know that this specific person was born today, and over their entire lifetime they will burn, say, I don't know, roughly 3 tons of oil in total. That is, he'll wear a certain amount of clothes, he'll eat a certain amount of food that I give him. It's like with a dog, roughly speaking. You can calculate how much you'll eat, how much you'll wear out, how much you'll, roughly speaking, digest. And then he'll die, or I'll dispose of him at a certain age, put him to sleep. The next one will be born and repeat the same cycle, and won't spend any more. Why is this necessary? Why is there population control going on? And everything else. The reason behind this is actually very simple, and although I've already told you before, not everyone has had the chance to hear it or fully grasp the implications. It is fundamentally about being able to keep holding this same dominant global power in their own hands and to ensure that the people living here on planet Earth do not end up destroying themselves. To our very great and profound regret, humanity is absolutely and completely insane in its desires. It is totally unable to control itself, its birth rate, to control its actions even, and to control everything they do, even in their everyday daily lives at all. A woman comes out and says, I want a child. How do you explain to her that her brat has no place on planet Earth right now because he is going to devour the food of future generations? So she needs to be put in such a framework where she simply won't want to give birth herself. That is exactly it. She needs to be completely deprived of her work. She needs to be poisoned with all sorts of useless junk. She needs to be forced to watch or learn things she doesn't need. And as a result, she will not be able to reproduce anything. Furthermore, beyond that, you need to somehow carefully select and identify the people who should still reproduce. Those who should breed the elite that will oversee and manage this society in a certain way. Additionally, you also need to breed certain worker bees. How do you do that? You need to isolate them from education. In particular, this is working in Russia right now. That is, they're making higher education inaccessible. They're forming a certain cluster of people, a working man, who won't see past his own nose, who will work, do everything, do whatever he's told. Simultaneously, they should basically avoid seeking high-ranking offices and so on. There, they must raise the elite separately and distinctly. It's been going on like this for many years, but now this whole system is entering its terminal phase. You might not believe me, I'm saying it once again. I can prove it all simply in a couple of hours, show it all with documents and so on. But I don't see any point in that. So basically what I'd like to convey to you today is that everything that's being done, the big coming war, all of this, it's only for that. And this gasoline shortage in Russia, these are all structural links of a single process. How do they force you to accept electronic money? Just how? Well, it can only happen like this, through upheaval, through completely dismantling the existing system, and through the total liquidation of past money. That is what this is all for. If you think you will be safe, well, you won't. Gold is perhaps the only thing that still connects this past world and the world of the future. And even the world's central banks themselves are saying that, yes, we will continue to buy gold. They are buying it in order to save, because everyone understands that a major shift in the financial paradigm is about to happen. The dollar will leave its pedestal fairly soon, and well, the entire accounting system will undergo a complete transformation. Trump, by the way, has already begun signing with his signature dollars, issuing new ones. Guess on the first try what will happen to the old ones. They will slowly, and then suddenly say that, well, those without Trump's signature, they are not real money. This could easily happen. I remember how they changed Swiss francs and how they changed large euro banknotes. That was quite a situation too. Well, so here it will probably be something similar. I will give you a specific example from my own experience. Like yesterday, I went to the store there. Oh, by the way, for groceries, yeah, in Turkey, and just to buy some groceries there. Well, I usually get a week's worth, so I don't have to go 10 times. I went in, bought some stuff. I spent something like $300, I think. And the clerk says, how are you going to pay? I look, and I do not have my card. But I had just withdrawn some cash. It was needed for Yoda Nikolaevich there, for the vet, and I paid for it all in cash. Then he says to me, your passport, please. Well, a Kimlik here, the local ID card. I hand the card over to him in a very natural way. He then explains that now all of our purchases are officially recorded in the state payment system. Remind you of anything? I am just saying that cash, non-cash, they are now, in Russia, by the way, this has been going on for quite a while. There is state accounting of your income and expenses. This is this whole global system in which, as I have said, here is another confirmation that it is already happening, and the final touch remains electronic money that will be colored. So you might be wondering, why exactly did I start telling you all about the gasoline situation in Russia to begin with? Well, it is because the simplest and most effective way to manage your personal behavioral patterns and your everyday consumer habits, let's say, is by the strategic process of coloring your money through a method known as not just coloring money, but the setting of money. By the way, for this word coloring, I would really like to emphasize it more. Remember it. In some time, maybe a year, maybe two, it will become a very common part of your vocabulary. So it is easiest to see through a deficit. So it means something is clearly missing. You need to justify why the money will be earmarked. Gasoline is currently in short supply, so you can only buy, say, 40 liters a month. How do you make absolutely sure you don't buy more to prevent speculation and so on? Earmark this money via the digital ruble, forcing gas purchases only through the digital ruble, and then it will reach food products too. You'll have a shortage of oil, for instance, sunflower oil. How do you make sure a family doesn't take more than 2 bottles? Earmark it. Earmark the money. Link these wallets, connect them together, identify the family members, so that no more than 2 bottles of this oil reach a single apartment. More than 40 liters of gas, this family wouldn't see. Welcome to that very digital concentration camp on a global scale. If in some countries it's more gradual, in Russia it'll be as always. Basically, we wanted the best, but it turned out as usual. Now note that the scenario of war with Europe, which is unfolding now, well, I did warn you about this 2 or 3 years ago, if you can remember. Remember what people were writing. If you want, open those videos and read the comments. It was unbelievable, impossible to accept that Russia would fight Europe. But she supplies gas there herself, people wrote to me. Or like 5 years ago, I spoke about this. The NATO member nations bordering Russia, such as Finland, Poland, Estonia, and Latvia, are actively constructing defensive structures and fortifications right now, blocking things off with minefields there. Funny guys, by the way. As if that will save them, but nevertheless, they're already spending 5% of GDP on defense. The NATO summit took place. I have an article out here now. Yes, they're Anaconda's noose on our resource. I wrote about what this means for Russia. Do you think the war will end with this? Do you think he won't declare mobilization? I laid it all out, how it will be, where and when it will happen. What will you get as a result? You'll get a war economy, wartime, an iron curtain. It's guaranteed to happen. Otherwise, you won't accept the digital ruble, and they really want you to accept it. The US, for example, completely withdrew troops from Estonia. The question is, what is this? Why? They don't want their own soldiers dying there, probably. Or maybe they're conducting a rotation. Yes, they're moving troops to Poland right now. Also for what? And why exactly have they started producing advanced long-range missile systems in Poland now? They've already officially given the green light for this move. Where will they be launching them? At Estonia? No. This situation unfolded against the backdrop of the Pentagon's strategic and pivotal decision to commence a comprehensive review of this global force posture. There you go. Germany, for the very first time, think about it, Germany, for the first time since the dark days of Adolf Hitler, and many long decades have since passed, is now actively preparing and taking significant steps. The process of launching a war economy, this so-called military Keynesianism, every third euro in the budget, every single third one in Germany, is now directly linked to the defense industry. They've lost their civilian industry. They blew it. They blew their car manufacturing and light industry. And as I understand it, the medium-sized ones too. Throughout the course of the last few years, this situation has developed primarily because they were cut off from vital energy and industrial resources coming directly from Russia. What choice do they have? Now it's a war economy, war once again. The defense budget will increase by 122% by 2030. The machine is up to speed. Do you think they'll hit the brakes now and this big war won't happen? Putin understands this, that this war is coming. He's heading toward it himself. It's their grand plan, as I've said before. And those people who intuitively say things like, well, it seems to us like a big show, that it's entirely being carried out solely in order to justify a specific set of actions, they don't really understand, these nuances. But you are right, damn it. Yes, it is a very big show. But there's one catch. In this big show, the actors are you. And if you didn't want to, you wouldn't be part of this show. But you are participating. You're giving them your money and your lives. They're building up armaments. Someone produces these weapons, and they're people just like you. Someone fires these weapons at people just like them. And someone is participating in this global theater. It's you who are participating in this theater. Not them. They're only the ones organizing it. Donald Trump has record low approval ratings. In the economy, only 30 or 33% support him based on economic indicators. Well, there's a growing sense of dissatisfaction with the rising cost of living there. The future of the American middle class is now being called into question. It won't exist. I warned you, he'll carry out mobilization and drag America into a big war. And he'll turn America back into military Keynesianism, though I've already said that worn out phrase several times today. He'll put America on those tracks. He's going to produce weapons, as I said, and sell them to Europe. What does an increase to 5% of a whole country's GDP for the NATO budget mean? Just stop and imagine for a moment. It means that all of this money will be flowing directly back to the Americans. They'll produce weapons for them and deliver them, and they'll be fighting Russia on the lives of Russian soldiers. And who, by the way, are these Russian soldiers? Well, it's you. Do you think it's only those who joined the special military operation? Do you think you can indefinitely print money and pay people with falling Russian industry? No, it's impossible. Mobilization is needed. It will happen. A major mobilization, a full-scale war, martial law, the bombing of your cities, your apartment buildings, and your children. Because the digital ruble is very much necessary, because control is needed. Because without control, on your own, you cannot manage. No, you can't. Today, I will answer that question for you. You are allowed to manage your own life. You can set boundaries that you yourself will not want to cross. And this requires no violence whatsoever. It requires nothing at all. The structure of society needs to be changed. But for that to happen, they would have to lose their power. I have the answer to the question of how to do it, how to create a new society and rid the world of wars. But never in any country will prominent religious leaders or high-ranking officials willingly consent to such a radical change. It would mean that everything they've built for centuries, the tradition of passing down absolute power to their descendants, their long-standing dynasties, the vast wealth, they would forfeit every single thing they possess. You don't think they'll give up that easily, do you? That is exactly why the new digital ruble exists. That is why. It's the icing on the cake of the global pyramid that's been under construction for the last 100 years. It all started, as always, in Israel. The Turkish Minister of the Interior recently delivered a significant public address stating that the entire world can no longer afford and can no longer tolerate the current actions of the State of Israel. It's true, and its foreign policy is aimed exclusively at war, conquest, and killing. And now, it's perfectly obvious to everyone that we can openly discuss this. And these aren't just loud slogans. It's absolutely and crystal clear. There are a few states in the world that, if isolated, could lead to a near-perfect idyll. But the world is not quite prepared to abandon them entirely, say, for religious or financial reasons, and a wide variety of other complex factors. In reality, all this immense power, these complex financial and various other global institutions, absolutely everything that this giant, imposing pyramid of power rests upon, which was built from large, behind-the-scenes secret societies and seemingly endless cash flows, can actually be dismantled with just 2 or 3 strategic decisions implemented within a single country. The world will see that life can be different and will tear this whole rotten pyramid to hell. That is why they are in such a hurry. The informatization of society is growing. You are getting smarter, though you are getting dumber at the same time. They are working incredibly hard to make this dumbing down process unfold much faster than your conscious awareness. I know for sure where the next 3 years of this policy, of this big war, will lead. I know exactly how much you will eat, sleep, how you will work and live. I'm telling you about this. You can, by the way, make money on this. Because in this speculative global financial system, there is an option to invest your funds and transfer them, first of all, into the new world through physical assets, as I said, gold, silver, a number of other metals, like all sorts of platinum group metals, real estate in some places, but it will lose a lot of value worldwide. And well, I suppose I'm also holding some cryptocurrencies at this particular moment, purely speculatively. And then came the total collapse. Just think about it for a moment. I have had such a forecast for a while, and I showed it a long time ago. I said that at the very peak of the fall, the American stock exchange will collapse about 8 to 9 times. An 80% drop, which is what I am predicting. Yes, to be clear, this is not a super extreme forecast. It is completely a standard baseline forecast. Why will this happen? Because this massive looming overhang of giant speculative money transferred through this whole system of electronic accounting and these American dollars, new electronic ones, and the electronic ruble or any other currency. It will completely and utterly wipe out everything that people have been carefully saving and accumulating for decades. I am sure of it. The next big collapse will happen, as I said, in 2028. Right now we are waiting for a good correction. We will take it speculatively. But where the big war begins in 2028, the end of 2028, so that you do not reproach me later that 2028 has come, it is already January 1st, 2028, and I do not see a global war. The end of 2028, after the elections in the United States of America, you will see what you will see. This is a fundamental shift of the so-called world hegemon, a complete transformation of the global financial system, and a total collapse of every single pillar that the former financial system was built on. I would very much like today's video. You see, it is so extraordinary and unconventional. It is very different from what I usually do. It should serve as a profound wake-up call to the massive events that are currently taking place. Because you must understand that all these events, from fuel shortages to the war in Ukraine, and ending with the global war that you're going to see, they're all needed for just one single purpose. You must accept a new form of governance, and you must accept a new financial system. And you must, well, let's say, accept it simply as your own. And today, by the way, in this 5-minute segment, I'd like to address a certain question. Here it is. Let's put it right here. And this question perfectly reflects the theme of our conversation today. I'll read it out. 195 countries signed the climate agreement. It includes moving away from oil, coal, livestock products, and limiting the use of gas-powered cars. Everything will be limited and restricted for ordinary people. Everything is happening according to the globalist plan. It will be just like it was during COVID. In every country, they'll simply choose their own pretext. In Russia, it's the war. In the United States, it's the fight for the environment or the economy, the new one. They'll say, look, we have a major crisis, and in this major crisis, we'll have to redistribute resources. We need electronic tracked dollars or USDT and so on. Someone somewhere will introduce it. For example, in Europe, it'll all be hidden behind the screen of universal basic income. They'll tell you, look, we gave you $2,000 every single month, and you got it all for free. We have a welfare state, like in France, for example. But you can't spend more than that. You can, of course, spend those funds on something else, but we'd better keep track of them for you so you don't misuse your own funds or accidentally overstep. It's all for your own personal benefit. It will be different everywhere in its own way. But if we delve deeper into this topic and answer this question, which I'd really like to do, then it has already begun. You've probably already noticed that cash is gradually disappearing from our daily lives. Cash is disappearing from payments in Europe or the US or elsewhere. You go somewhere and you can't pay with cash in certain places. This trend will continue to grow. How will they do it? It's very simple. They will start by integrating specific individuals into the new system, specific categories of people. The military, government employees, public sector workers in general, all over the world, gradually. Because the system has to start somewhere. You can't immerse everyone all at once. There would be riots, like in Africa. They introduced their electronic money and nobody used it. They'll offer an illusion of choice. They'll make these electronic rubles more attractive. They'll offer discounts on them, like a refer a friend discount or something. They'll offer to exchange old money for new. They'll make paper currency inconvenient, even more inconvenient. They'll impose taxes and, even more so, tighten control. And then, at the same time, they'll devalue them so people definitely can't manage them. Some professions will be cut, like postmen or couriers, so they don't carry pensions in envelopes to grandmas. As for the grandmas themselves, how will the pensioners cope? I'm practically convinced at this point that they'll link your wallet not just to some bank card, but directly to your official government-issued personal ID. Did you know, for example, that in Russia and many other countries, documents have had chips for a long time? For instance, I have such a document. This means your wallet can be linked directly to it. You go to a store and your money is in the central bank via an electronic, say, ruble or dollar or whatever, or euro, I don't know, it doesn't matter. You tap your card and you receive as many products as you've been allotted. The phone system, your SIM card, your personal identification system, that biometric tracking chip in the passport, and the entire wallet system, all of these different technologies will eventually be merged into one single system. Through this same ID, you'll soon be accessing the internet. Mark my words. I guarantee that soon you will all be registering on the internet, in social networks, and so on. You won't be able to log in without a passport. Don't believe me? Let's talk in 3 years. You'll see. They will explain it by the circumstances of wartime and the need for so-called security and many other things. It is a gradual process. It is not necessarily all at once. You will get some restrictions first, followed by others over time. Remember when I predicted that YouTube would be banned in Russia and everything would be shut down? Back then they didn't believe me. Now you're watching this through workarounds. You're essentially hacking the system. And the fact that criminal cases aren't being opened for using a VPN yet, just wait. It's only a delay. The system shouldn't break your bones. It should suffocate you. Because if it breaks bones, the sound of those fractures will be everywhere, and people simply won't stand the pressure. They'll take up pitchforks. But slowly, it's a python's noose. You won't be able to escape its tight embrace later. This snake will devour you. What I basically wanted to convey today, I have conveyed. But we still need to sum it up. I'll count them on my fingers. Do you know I like counting on my fingers? First, when will it happen? The start is in 2028, along with a major war. The geopolitical backdrop is such that it's the height of a deep economic crisis superimposed on a major war. All over the world, in almost every country, there will be a besieged fortress economy. That's Russia, the US, and really a wide variety of other nations through military Keynesianism. Every country will stimulate its domestic economy, and actively pit different groups of people against each other to kill off as many as possible. Fourth, digital money isn't about convenience. It'll be introduced basically all over the world almost simultaneously, and so this currency control will be implemented everywhere by 2028. In Russia, as you know, Putin signed it in September 2026. So in just 2 short months, these digital rubles will be available in all of your personal accounts. Banks will offer you a little wallet. You'll see these links everywhere. It's very convenient. Let's switch over. Furthermore, you should always keep in mind, and don't forget that all these significant changes, you won't even remember this video, many of you, even those who watched it. These changes will unfold slowly and gradually, and they will occur with absolute inevitability. If you are interested in seeing a comprehensive, detailed article on this specific topic and would like to read it within our dedicated political thread, we will post the link right here for you. You can go and check it out. So, as always, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and to stay in touch, and until next week. Sincerely, your Nikolai.